When I saw him last week, he said, "Look, I just want people to be happy. People mustn't be sad," O'Sullivan says of his last visit with his friend. Mansfield died on Monday after being diagnosed with terminal liver cancer earlier this year. Jeremy Mansfield was a larger-than-life personality whose presence demanded attention. The veteran radio presenter died on Monday after being diagnosed with terminal liver cancer earlier this year. Also read, Remembering the Master of the Mic, a tribute to Jeremy Mansfield. On Tuesday, O'Sullivan remembered Mansfield in a statement to News 24, saying, "This is what Jeremy would love. He loved being the center of attention. And when I saw him last week, where we knew he was dying, he said, 'Look, I just want people to be happy. I think we had enough time to mourn when we realized he was going to die. And because of the fact that he was unable to do anything about it, he just decided, what the hell, I am just going to go out with a bang.'" Sharing more about their final visit last week, O'Sullivan says that despite being frail and struggling to talk, Mansfield went out with him for a drink. "When I met him last week, he got out of bed, and he came to the Jozi Gin Bar because we met in pubs. Our lives revolved around pubs. So, we met in a pub and had some beers." O'Sullivan adds that their final meeting was to reminisce and to just take his mind off the horribleness of his situation. The radio and TV journalist also spoke more about their friendship and how it developed over time. O'Sullivan had been Mansfield's tutor at Rhodes University. "I was a journalism honors student at the time, and he was a first-year student," he recalls. "We were laughing because we worked out that we met when we were barely out of our teens, and were now about to become pensioners." O'Sullivan describes his first impression of Mansfield. He was this rather flamboyant, loud, confident, extroverted kid. He was tall, he was skinny, and he kind of stuck out because he came wearing ballerina tights. Mansfield studied speech and drama and chose dance as a subject. He, therefore, would wear his tights to campus on the days he had dance class. O'Sullivan says his friend was a marvellous actor, which was one of the reasons he was so successful in his radio career. Jeremy was outstanding in that regard, and that's what set him up so wonderfully as a presenter. He didn't have this great voice, he wasn't like John Berks, but he could act, and he could play characters, and he understood theater of the mind. A perfect example was when Mansfield and O'Sullivan worked at Capital Radio. The pair devised an April Fool's joke to play on their listeners. "We pretended that they could watch a tugboat towing an iceberg up the coast of KwaZulu-Natal," O'Sullivan recalls, adding that to make it realistic they faked an interview with the supposed captain of the tugboat, which, of course, Mansfield's voiced. Jeremy played the part of the tugboat captain. He decided to give this guy a backstory, making him drunk in Scandinavian. So, it was this bizarre accent, and the man is quite clearly pissed, and he's towing an iceberg, O'Sullivan says. As bizarre as the story was, people believed there was an iceberg being towed up the coast. O'Sullivan says Mansfield had an ability to turn the things he and his friends were going through into content for his radio show. He would just listen to conversation, he would hear the jokes, hear the funny anecdotes, and then he'd go, "Oh, I can use that." He was this astute observer of human behavior. O'Sullivan adds that one of the most essential things about Mansfield was that he came at a time in radio where we were going through the transition to democracy, and the country was in uproar. And what was Jeremy doing? He was making the nation laugh. Speaking about Mansfield's humanitarian side, O'Sullivan said, "He was incredibly good at understanding the power of radio and his power of personality and his influence for the greater good." O'Sullivan says he and Mansfield had their own way of communicating. "He and I, in all those years, developed our language, our slang. It was ridiculous," he says, joking about how when they got married, their wives just couldn't understand what we were saying because we had our own way of talking to each other. Their special language continued right until their last goodbye. "One of the things we always would say to each other, we never said goodbye. We'd always say, 'I'll smell you.' And so, when I saw him the very last time, I said, 'Jerome, I'll smell you.' He said, 'I'll smell you,' and I knew it would be the last time."